How's it going, everyone? My name is George, and today we are going to be talking about Toy Story 2. This film came out in 1999, and yes, we are continuing the Toy Story review series leading up to Lightyear. And Toy Story 2 came, like I said, came out in 1999. And the interesting thing about this film is I can't remember if this is the first movie I've officially watched in theaters, but it's the film that I have the earliest memory of watching in a theater. So yeah, I would probably say this was probably the first film I saw in a theater. It's definitely my earliest film memory. But yeah, Toy Story 2 was directed by John Lasseter, and once again, voice stars Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. And in this film, Woody can't go to cowboy camp with Andy because he ripped his arm. And when he's trying to save another toy from a yard sale, he's kidnapped by Al from Al's Toy Barn, who wants to sell Woody to a museum in Japan, along with a bunch of other Woody's Roundup merchandise. And he finds out that the Woody doll is based off a popular show back in the day. And so Buzz and other toys, Slinky, Rex, Mr. Potato Head, and Ham, go off to rescue Woody. So Toy Story 2 came out 4 years after the first Toy Story film, which is the shortest time like between years for a sequel to come out. Usually Pixar sequels take 10 years or more. In fact, the only other sequels that usually come out less than 9 to 10 years have been the Car sequels, and they tend to be seen as the weakest in the Pixar library. And also, Toy Story 2 kind of has an interesting history with its production. It originally started off as a release to home video sequel, but then around like 1997, they decided to make it a theatrical movie. But then in 1998, it almost got deleted, and the staff was unhappy with how the film was turning out. So they had a really compressed sequel. They had 9 months to really make this film, and most Pixar movies take many years to make. So you would think that a movie like this, with its history before watching it, isn't going to turn out all that well. And I kind of understand why you had the compressed schedule. At the same time, they were finishing A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life came out in 1998. That was the second Pixar film. This is the third Pixar film. And again, they made that change from making it a direct to home video film where, yeah, things may not be as the animation may not be up to par, the story may not be up to par because home video sequels tend to not always be anywhere near as good as the previous film. But then they made that leap to making a theatrical film. And the final product comes out very well. This is a great movie, a great sequel. In fact, there's some people out there who think this is better than the first Toy Story film. Personally, while I prefer the first Toy Story film, I still think this is a fantastic sequel. The animation is updated. This came out, like I said before, this came out 4 years after the first Toy Story film, and the animation looks a lot better, particularly the animation for the humans. Andy's animation looks a lot better. His design, Andy's mom looks a lot better. Design for Al works out pretty well. By the way, if any of you have ever watched the Three Buck Theater YouTube channel, Matt Jarbo's channel, doesn't Al kind of look like Matt Jarbo? I don't know. They kind of look very, very similar. Matt Jarbo has even acknowledged that. But yeah, the animation has improved a lot, and they've done a lot with this animation because the scenery, the settings are a lot bigger in this film than the previous Toy Story film. Where the first Toy Story film, you basically had, chasing a moving van, Sid's room, Sid's house, Pizza Planet, the gas station. You're going to Al's apartment, Al's toy barn. You got to design all these new toys. The airport. The toys are going in much bigger places this time around to go save their friend Woody. You got to design much more toys, not just Andy's room toys. The first film you had just Andy's room toys, the Pizza Planet aliens, and Sid's messed up toys. And here you got to create the Woody's Roundup gang, Jesse, Prospector, and Bullseye, the Woody's Roundup merchandise, the Al's Toy Barn toys, Buzz Lightyear's mortal enemy, Zurg. He's also introduced in this film. So they had to design a lot in this film and update the animation style, and they managed to do that very well. And the voice acting is still great in this film. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen are great as always. You have Joan Cusack filling in the voice of Jesse, Kelsey Grammer doing the voice of the Prospector, Wayne Knight voicing Al, and great voice acting from them, great voice acting from the other members of the cast that were from the first film. The opening sequence where the Buzz Lightyear video game, that's great to watch. That's cool to see. It's different different from the other Toy Story films because in Toy Story 3 and 4, the openings have basically been a montage of the toys being played with. In this film, they do something obviously different where Rex is playing the Buzz Lightyear video game. And I'm pretty sure the Toy Story universe takes place in the 90s. Andy was a kid in the 90s. Video games were definitely not like that in the 90s. Like, I would love to have played the video games in the Toy Story verse around like the late 90s, early 2000s because our video games were not that updated. But that was cool to watch. I love that they're also expanding the universe of these characters. Like I said, Buzz's archenemy Zurg is introduced in this film. You learn about where Woody came from. You meet his Roundup gang. So I love that they're also expanding the universes of these toys. I love that some of the toys from the previous film that didn't get as much screen time are getting more this time around. Mr. Potato Head, Slinky, Rex, and Ham. And I also love like the character development even for like the newer characters. Here's for example, Jessie. At first, Jessie, she's very happy that Woody's here because they can go to this museum, but then she's very angry when she finds out Woody is still loyal to his kid and wants to go back. And at first, you're kind of annoyed by Jesse's actions, but then you realize why Jesse's acting this way. The way that Woody feels about Andy is the same way that Jessie once felt about her kid. And but then her kid abandoned her, and you have that very emotional music montage when she loved me in a very emotional, powerful song. And you learn that Jessie once felt the same way, but then she was abandoned. And then you see the doubts that Woody has, and he wants to stay because not just because of the rip that he once suffered, for in the fear of it happening again, but also the fear of Andy growing up. In the first film, the fear was of Woody being replaced by Buzz. In this film, the fear is what happens when your kid gets old, or what happens when you get another rip or injury as a toy. And then you got the prospector, who's the toy antagonist of this film, and you find out that he never was even played with by a kid. He watched other toys get sold throughout the years, and that's why he wants to go to this museum. And you're kind of getting hints of it when he's putting these seeds of doubt in Woody's head, and like saying stuff like, "Is he gonna bring you to college?" Which, ironically, in Toy Story 3, Andy was planning on bringing Woody to college originally, or like will he bring Woody on his honeymoon? And then like Buzz has to reiterate the words that Woody once said to him, that you are a toy. Boy, Buzz has to help Woody this time around realize what his purpose is. And I love that role reversal. And you get to see Buzz in a much more leadership role where he's leading these toys, where he's much more mature. And it's kind of funny when he runs into the other Buzz Lightyear doll, and you kind of learn that a lot of the space toys, the Buzz Lightyear toys, don't even realize that they're toys. Not just the other Buzz Lightyear with the fancy bell, but also Zurg. So that's very interesting to learn. It wasn't just like one Buzz Lightyear toy. It's several. It's basically all of them at this point. I will say though, it feels like the versus Buzz stuff. While it's cool, I don't know if this was stuff that might have been added on last minute. It kind of feels like it was thrown in there. I'm not saying it's bad. I enjoy it, but it also feels like the film may not have been any different if it was taken out. I still enjoy it. It's cool to see that Buzz has an arch enemy named Zurg, who's a parody of Darth Vader. It's cool to see like this wasn't just Andy's Buzz, it's all the Buzzes that think this way. But yeah, it just feels like something that was it thrown in there? I'm not really too sure. But yeah, this film definitely touches upon much more emotional stuff. Like I previously said, the stuff about Jessie and her kid. Then when Woody like when he's watching the "You Got a Friend in Me" montage on TV, and he realizes that yeah, Andy's gonna grow up, but he doesn't want to miss it. So I just love that this film does improve on some of the things from the first Toy Story film. I still prefer the first Toy Story film because I feel like the story is much more there. Like what I'm trying to explain is like this film does have multiple story arcs, and it feels like one story arc that probably could have been taken out and would not have made a difference would have been like the other Buzz stuff. Like yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's for laughs, and yeah, the toys are like downing Buzz. All of a sudden, they're like, why is he acting this way all of a sudden? But yeah, I still love Toy Story 2. I still think it's a fantastic movie. And despite all the production problems that it had, it pulled through and made a great movie. This is still one of the better Pixar sequels. Like, we've gotten many Pixar sequels throughout the years, and it's still one of the better ones. I'm not saying the Pixar sequels that have come out in the past 10 years, because that's basically where most of these sequels have come out, were bad. I actually enjoyed those sequels a lot, but Toy Story 2 to me is still one of the better sequels that Pixar has made. And I'm going to give it an A. Toy Story is an A movie. And I'll be honest, for me, like, it may be my least favorite of the Toy Story films, but I still love the movie. That alone just says, like, the Toy Story movies are just phenomenal in general. Whether it's the best or even like the least favorite, it's a phenomenal franchise. And I love the themes that this film touches upon. I love that they improved on the animation and that they expanded the Toy Story universe in a way. But yeah, Toy Story 2. Go check it out if you haven't already. Go check out all the Toy Story movies if you haven't already. I love all of them. What do you guys think about Toy Story 2? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share us with someone that loves the Toy Story movies. I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.